in Poland, from all indications, all information, was a Ukrainian missile and not Russian missile. So I hope you can see this on your screen. And this is actually coming in from Poland, folks. Says Poland qualifies Ukrainian missile strike as an unfortunate accident. The fatal incident was practically impossible to prevent, Andrzej Duda said. Now, this is the president of Poland, folks. This is not Vladimir Putin. This is not Zelensky. This is the actual leader of the country of Poland stating that this was a Ukrainian missile. Said the recent missile strike that hit the Polish village of Przewodol, killing 2 civilians, was an unfortunate accident, which was not possible to protect against. President Andrzej Duda said on Friday. In an interview with local media, Duda explained that Poland should be prepared for the fact that incidents such as this, which occur due to the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, may happen again in the future. The president added that there was no way to prevent the missile from striking Przewodol, just 6 kilometers from the Polish-Ukrainian border. On Tuesday, he said he had spoken to military experts who told him that there are no anti-missile systems that could have intercepted the projectile over Polish territory in time. Duda explained that this has been an attack on a heavily protected strategic location. Duda explained that if it had been an attack on a heavily protected strategic location, it would have been shot down with anti-air missiles systems that constantly monitor whether rockets are flying in their direction. But in the case of this one that hit Przewodol, it was practically impossible to prevent the disaster once the missile was already heading toward its destination. According to evidence gathered by the Polish, the United States, and NATO investigators. Now, this is not Russia, folks. This is not Putler or Putin or Putin investigating. This is Polish investigators, U.S. investigators, and NATO investigators. The incident involved a Ukrainian S-300 air defense missile, which had been fired by Kiev forces amid a series of Russian airstrikes on targets in Ukraine. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has demanded that experts from Kiev be granted access to the investigation and insisted that the missile was not fired by his forces. However, he said on Thursday that it was not 100% sure who the rocket belonged to. Moscow said its forces did not strike any targets closer than 35 kilometers, 21.7 miles from the Polish border, and that images of the crash site clearly identify the projectile as a Ukrainian S-300 air defense missile. Russian officials have described efforts to pin the blame on Moscow for the incident as an attempt to trigger a direct confrontation with NATO. So, folks, this is the official statement from the president of Poland right here. This is not Mr. Putler or Vladimir Putler or whatever you want to call him. This is the president of Poland stating that this was a Ukrainian S-300 missile. This was an accident. This is not deliberate. And they have evidence now from the investigation from Poland, United States, and NATO. So I hope this closes that chapter and we can move on to another breaking news story. But, you know, not everything in the world that happens is, you know, Russia's fault. But, you know, I guess it's easy to blame them because they're, you know, that's our enemy, our supposedly enemy in the world right now, the one that's going to take over all of Europe and conquer the whole world, and everybody have to be speaking Russian here in 6 months. I don't think that's going to happen, folks. So we're trying to bring you the breaking news, the correct information, and you know, I do leave all of my sources in the description box, so you can go back and fact check all this information if you think I'm not telling the truth. So let's go to another article from RT. Let me get this on the screen here. Now, this is our Defense Secretary, Mark Milley. And he just made a statement, I think yesterday, and he's telling the world about the situation in Ukraine right now. And let me make sure this is on the big screen. Yes, it is. So Mark Milley's statement was the Ukrainian military victory not likely anytime soon, top U.S. general. So, like I said, can you cut that off, Peter? Ukrainian military victory not likely anytime soon, U.S. top general, Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Mark Milley, or Miley, however you want to pronounce that, says Kiev can only hope for a political solution. So this is our top general, folks. Like I said, this is not Scott Ritter. This is not Colonel Douglas. This is not, anybody else. This is our top Pentagon general stating the facts on the ground. Ukraine's chances of a near-term military victory over Russia are not high, top U.S. General Mark Miley claimed, noting that despite Kiev's recent advances on the battlefield and the capture of the city of Kherson, Russia still has a significant combat presence in the country. Speaking at a news conference at the Pentagon on Wednesday, that was yesterday, or actually 2 days ago, Miley stated that the probability of a Ukrainian military victory, defined as kicking the Russians out of all of Ukraine to include what they define or what they claim as Crimea, the probability of that happening anytime soon is not high militarily. The general noted, however, that there was a possibility of a political solution that would see Russia withdraw from the territories Ukraine claimed of its own, adding that Russia is on its back right now and that Ukraine needs to negotiate from a position of strength. Miley also reiterated Washington's support for Kiev and vowed to continue as long as it takes, a statement that was echoed by U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, who also took part in the press conference. So this is the latest statement from our top general in the Pentagon.
Several people ask about what Joe Turner's news last night.
Oh, okay. All right. So Adrian said several people asked about Hal Turner. Actually, it was, I'll bring you the article if I can find it. So Hal Turner had a breaking news broadcast last night. I guess a lot of you guys did not watch it. So I'll go over the information right now and show you what he was saying, that Russia launched a nuclear missile at Kiev, but it did not contain a warhead. So let's go ahead and go over this article that Hal Turner thought was very significant. He did a whole program on this last night, and we'll go over the information right now. So this information came in actually yesterday. Aiming at Kiev, Russia fired a missile with a virtual nuclear warhead against Ukraine. The first use of a Kh-55 from the nuclear arsenal. So this is Russia's Tu-95 bomber in the background, and in the front, this is a sample of what the missile that they fired at Kiev that was shot down. So this missile is a nuclear capable missile, but Russia was sending a message to Ukraine and the United States and NATO that if you keep provoking us, we will put a warhead on this missile. So this was a pretty significant that Russia actually launched a nuclear missile without the warhead at Kiev to send a strong message to the West. So let's go ahead and read this. A few hours ago, NATO and Ukrainian officials found themselves in front of a terrifying discovery as they located the wreckage of a Russian missile carrying a virtual nuclear warhead, a nuclear combat unit simulator. The missile fell in the vicinity of Kiev, Russia, during the large-scale bombing yesterday morning on the 15th of the month proceeded to simulate a nuclear strike against Ukraine. In fact, Russia fired the missile simply without the nuclear warhead attached. This is the first use of a Russian nuclear arsenal in the Ukrainian theater of operations, even for the requirements of a simulation. According to the first information early on Tuesday morning, the Ukrainian Armed Forces shot down 2 cruise missiles. One of them was a Kh-55 model Russian destination X-55 developed to carry a nuclear payload. However, this particular missile did not contain any warhead. Instead, it contained a nuclear combat unit simulator. The shock is simply enormous, both in Ukraine and in the neighboring NATO countries. They did not use the KH-555 missile. Says the discovery raised some interesting questions. The first fact is that the Russian Federation did not use the conventional KH-555 ballistic missiles, but it used the KH-55, which is also armed with a nuclear warhead. The Russians removed the nuclear warhead and did not replace it with a conventional warhead. After the nuclear warhead was removed, where is it now? Russia uses the KH-555 missiles to hit targets in Ukraine in the past. These are ballistic missiles loaded with non-nuclear explosive conventional ones. Meanwhile, the KH-55 missile is the original model specifically designed to carry nuclear warheads. Simply put, the KH-55 and the KH-555 uses basically the same missile carrier, but with different payloads. Their heads are structurally different and can be recognized by experts relatively easily. So, folks, this is a dramatic development. That what you're looking at on the screen, this picture, this is the missile right here, the KH-55, which was specifically designed to carry a nuclear warhead. Russia fired one of these missiles at Kiev 2 days ago in their massive bombardment right up on the front. They did not have a nuclear warhead. They replaced it with a nuclear simulator, simulating a nuclear attack on the Kiev region. So they wanted to send a message to NATO, folks. So this, I don't think Russia is bluffing. I don't think that, Vladimir Putin is bluffing. I do believe that if we keep provoking them, that eventually this might happen. And now, according to the latest information, second wave of sweeping bombing freezes Ukraine mass launches of 50 Russian missiles. Ukraine now is 40% without electricity. So this is the breaking news. The United States has pledged another $37 billion. You got that right, folks. Joe Biden has just pledged another $37 billion for Ukraine. So this is going to be like $90 billion, folks. $90 billion that we're giving Ukraine to fight Russia. So it doesn't look like that the United States, our country, is going to abandon Ukraine anytime soon. Says Biden unveils a $37 billion package more in emergency aid on the heels of the Polish border attack. He said President Joe Biden is asking Congress to provide more than $37 billion in emergency aid to Ukraine, a massive infusion of cash that could help support the nation as Russian forces suffer battlefield losses in the 9-month-old invasion. Said Biden unveiled the proposed massive aid infusion while at the G20 summit in Bali, Indonesia. It was also announced just as President Biden had a phone call with Poland's President Andrzej Duda following the explosion. So this is a lot of money, folks. Here is the list of what we've given them so far. It says, according to the breakdown of the fresh proposal for Ukraine, it includes $21 billion for military intelligence and other defense support, $14.5 billion in humanitarian aid to keep the Ukrainian government functioning, $900 million in healthcare, and $626 million in nuclear security support to Ukraine for modernizing their strategic petroleum reserve. So a lot of money, folks, being thrown at Ukraine. It does not look like that we're going to stop supporting Ukraine. So, that's what we're facing today.